All right, so again, this talk is about Slick. It's a Sling Blog Engine. There's several reasons why it's not a typical Sling Blog Engine. I'll get into some of those reasons. My name's Chris, of course. How many people have launched the new Sling 9 Launchpad? Hopefully everyone. I think I raised a Jira ticket, or maybe it was Oliver, and so we were able to, or I guess I was able to sneak in this new design for the Sling 9 Launchpad. We changed some things around, and so hopefully you've seen it, and that was partly my doing. And then I also work on adobe.com, so Nicholas and I work together sort of on the next generation platform for adobe.com and other related sites for Adobe. And then I also have a blog related to Sling and AEM, and that's at Experience Manage, and again, hopefully you've all seen that. So Slick is, at its core, is really a blog engine that's obsessively crafted around Apache Sling and related technologies. So if it doesn't ship with Sling, then Slick doesn't use it. I don't pull in other dependencies. There's no, JSON or anything like that. It's really obsessively crafted around Sling. And so, any developer journey, when you start learning a new technology, you have a lot to learn, and maybe you want to document it. And so, for me, it was like, oh, I'm going to go spin up a WordPress blog and write about AEM and Sling and OSGI. And then I was like, well, that's kind of dumb that I'm doing this blog about Java on a PHP blog engine. So I figured I could learn a lot about Sling if I did this. And then a big contributing factor is Adobe had, around the same time, Adobe announced that they had donated Sightly or HTL to the Apache Foundation. So Slick 1.0 was released in April 2015. It was really like a very generic, here's a form, here's some ACL layers and Sling default post servlet. And that was it. And I was like very proud of myself and announced on Twitter, hey, I wrote a Sling blog engine. So it was not really a release, but a release. And then September 2015, a really good friend of mine, Nate, came out with a blog engine called Public for Sling 7. And at the time, it was amazing. And if you haven't seen it, go check it out. Just totally awesome. And it was very clear that I had no business continuing to work on Slick. And it was very clear that my lack of direction and lack of knowledge in the beginning really was going to be a problem. So nearly immediately, work on Slick 2 began. And then in April 2016, Slick 2 was released. And there's actually been a 2.1, a 2.2. That's probably one of the key differentiators of Slick, is that it is actively developed. There may be some low points for a few months, with any open source project, but I do actively work on it. If you submit bugs, I try and help you with them. So you will get feedback from me. From an authoring and visitor standpoint, and I'm going to cover a bunch of these in more detail. So it's really about easy to get creating content fast. You can create, edit, post, pages, media, tags. There's post and page scheduling. There's a WYSIWYG editor, RSS feed. There's some accent color support for some basic theming, commenting. Of course, there's authentication, which sits on top of the Sling User Manager API. So it's nice. It's just a couple of JSON calls or AJAX calls. There's search, analytics, SEO, social, pagination, and some basic localization using the I18N string features, which is, again, in JSON. And then if you're a developer and you want to start hacking on Sling, which is kind of why we're all here, is to hack on Sling, Slick provides proper OSGI services and configurations. Sling models are used extensively. There's even dispatcher support that comes with a lot of asterisks. The entire stack was written to be easy to maintain. It's challenging enough to find time, after work to work on open source projects. So it was important that it was easy to maintain. The front-end build process, so if you're not a front-end developer and you're like, I just want my site to look good, that process is already taken care of for you through Maven. It uses a Maven multi-module project. It's similar to the AEM archetype. It actually creates 2 separate bundles, one for UI, one for Java, or one for your Java classes. But it is fairly similar if you're used to working with multiple projects. There's Travis CI integration, so if you submit a pull request, it'll do some checks, make sure it builds. Not super fancy. There's some basic localization, of course, and Sling plugin support. So again, if on the other side, if you're adverse to Maven, Robert built this tool where you save your class, it compiles, and then sends up to Sling automatically. So that's all supported. Of course, because it is just a Sling application, there is container support. And I like to think that the docs are pretty decent, especially from an onboarding perspective. So one of the big goals, when you start learning Sling, you're like, it looks like this huge mountain. Or if you're working on learning AEM, there's like this huge mountain of like getting started. So one of the goals of Slick was crazy fast onboarding. So you can go from, Java-jar Launchpad to actually creating content in 3 minutes, which is kind of a reminder for me to kick off a build. So I have this server running. This is a little digression. I have this server running. So it's using Sling 8. I'm in the process of porting it to Sling 9. The changes in Commons JSON to JavaX JSON has kind of been a factor in that. So I kicked off the build, and I don't know how long it's going to run given our internet connection. So we'll kick that off. Okay. So again, for onboarding, when you first start Slick and you install it, you get presented with a blank screen that says, hey, there's no post. Do you want to author one? You then click on that, and it takes you, again, you're not authenticated, so you log in. And then it recognizes, hey, you used admin to log in, so you need to change your password. You can't just keep going with admin. And then it tells you to create another user. So at that point, you can set up your settings, themes. Again, it was like, if you're not a designer or you don't want to think about templates and themes and all of that stuff, there's some basic features in here to kind of make your blog have your own look and feel. And then as far as the WYSIWYG editor goes, this is kind of a rant of mine. So this is sort of like a typical WordPress WYSIWYG page, and you just see all this like UI cruft around everywhere, and it's a bunch of wasted real estate. It kind of reminds me of like the old days when you'd go visit a family member and you'd see all these IE toolbars at the top. It's like, I thought if everything is content, we should probably respect the content. So that's why we have these 16:9 screens, so all the icons for the rich text editor is on the right-hand side. Again, because we're in widescreen, so why would we stuff things at the top? There's search support, which is pretty cool. Just so you know, it's nothing too impressive. It is SQL 2, so whoever was talking about how XPath is the devil, it is SQL 2, but it is just a full text search, very plain. Again, with how many people have heard of schema.org, if you've done any accessibility or semantics? So like in the WordPress, if you want good SEO, it's like, go install a plugin, and you go and you search for SEO, and you get like maybe 50,000 results of plugins, and you're like, which one is good? Which one's not going to hack my site? All that stuff is built in automatically. So schema.org support, this is actually a Search Console snapshot or screenshot where it shows like Google's just pulling in all that data. Again, no plugins necessary, it just works. The same thing with social. Again, how do we solve these problems where it's like you go to Facebook and you got to register as a developer to get an app ID, and you get the little share script, and then you put it on your page, and then you find out it's injecting like this giant iframe with all their analytics and tracking and everything. And you're like, I just wanted a button to share content. So Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn support is all rolled in for free. It's super, super lightweight. It's effortless. How lightweight? It's about 55 lines of code to support those three, and it just pulls up a new tab. It actually sends some event data if you have analytics. So again, analytics support, Google Analytics, Adobe Analytics, DTM, GTM, and then of course open source analytics are supported. You basically just select the analytics service you want to use, you add your script, and you're done. Of course, if you do want to support your Facebook app ID, that's there too. And then there's comments. This is actually a feature of Slick 2.2 that came out, I think, early this year. And so it's like, well, that's great. You know, I could use discuss, or maybe I use another third party, and then I've got more cookies on my page, more user tracking. So comments are actually built to be highly, highly cacheable. So the idea is that we have this JSON endpoint. It's tied to a servlet, and it generates the comments for a given post. So the idea is that if someone creates a comment, well, we don't want to flush all of the posts and all of the paginated lists just because someone made a comment. So what if we could just flush posts hello-world.list comments? Well, we can do that. And so post stays in your cache. And of course, this is all wired up through handlebars and some custom XHR calls. So related to caching, Dispatcher is supported. There are significant legal implications of that, so read the fine print. Dispatcher is not free. It is a licensed product. And then I did want to create something around Dispatcher. So there's actually a Dispatcher interface. It's just simple and powerful. And so you can flush all your content. You can flush your UI only. You can flush everything. You can flush by path, of course. There's container support. Again, Slick is just a Sling application. So of course, all of my sites, my personal site, my AEM blog, they all run on a single VM with multiple containers. So it kind of ties in a couple talks that have been today. So there's OSGI service implementations, of course. So comment service, current user service, dispatcher service, media service, OSGI service for writing configurations, host service, setting service, UI messaging service for sending messages to the UI, upload service. So hopefully that's a good separation of concerns. And then there's actually component Sling models that are directly exposed to the page. Again, trying to separate out. So we have author, we have common, because there might be something that you use for the publish side, there might be something you use for the author side. Everything from like notfound.java to list posts. And then those actually tie back to base Sling models. So models in more of a traditional MVC sense. So you have page, author, comment. So you can do, so from an HTML standpoint, it's very straightforward and very almost human readable. View page title, view page body, view author first name, and view external URL. And so the idea is, view maps to view.java, which adapts to the page, which adapts to the author, and then you have the method get first name, and there you go. And then for my adaptTo merit badge, pages actually do support getting children. So even though Slick is not a CMS, there is traversal, so we actually adapt this iterator of children to our Slick page. And then a quick demo, so hopefully that installed. Cool, it actually installed pretty quick, so our network was good. So I'm just going to go to adaptTo.millar.org. That's where I installed it. I installed it to an IP address, but it maps to this. So here it is. It just says, it looks like there aren't any posts. Do you want to author one? So we do that. We just go admin, enter. It says, it looks like you've got the default admin password set, so we'll just change that. Update. You can see our UI messaging service pops up that says user successfully updated. We'll just type in create an actual user. Create. So it says the user was created and we're actually being added to the author group below. And then, of course, we get redirected to login now. And we'll go to settings. Maybe we want to change the color. We don't want this green color. We want to do more of like an adaptTo blue. We can say, oh, adaptTo blog. And we'll hit save. And if we refresh, you'll see that all of my accent colors change, even the logo. So we'll create a new post. New. So again, like here's this giant editing window. So hello from adaptTo. And of course, if we want to dig into the SEO, so if we want to change the URL, we want to add a description, my long description. Actually, we should probably change this to welcome to Berlin. And we can just say Sling, OSGI, HTL, adaptTo. And of course, we can choose an image. So maybe we go to desktop. And hello. Hope everyone had fun. And we can publish. And there's Bertrand. And so if we want to share this, we can just click share. And we can say hello from adaptTo. And if we go to Twitter, hopefully it's there. That's very meta. Hello from adaptTo. Of course, our Twitter card support, and it's all just right there. And that is a demo of Slick. Here's some information. The source code, of course, is on GitHub. I'm available on Twitter at @AUniverseAway, and then, of course, there's the Slick blog, and that's all I have.
Thank you, Chris. Any questions? Here's one question in the front.
Hey, thanks, Chris. It's actually looking pretty great. And I wanted to ask you something. One of the reasons that more people are getting on WordPress than any other platform is that it's quite easy to deploy and have a running blog in an instant. Do you provide any kind of guidance for people starting up, like a pre-built container or something like that they can use?
Can you speak up a little bit? I didn't quite.
Sorry, do you provide any kind of guidance for installing Slick and running it for your blog, like a pre-built container or something like that?
Yeah. So the container that I use is just the default Sling container. There is a dispatcher configuration available in the source code. Again, you're up on your own to get that actual dispatcher module for Apache. And not specific guidance for running in a production environment, but what you just saw was me publishing to a live VM with a DNS entry. So it's really a matter of it. What's great about it is that if you are in the AEM world, you know the security concerns that you need to worry about. So that would be my best answer.
Thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions?